Okay, good afternoon. Hello, I'm Krisha. I've currently got you all on mute. I'm going to unmute you briefly now, attendees, just so that I can ask you some questions. So, David Madden, Ian Leonard, Louise Langford, Marcus Gray, hello.
Hello.
Oh, hello. I'm unmuting you a minute just so that I can ask you some questions. We've got a poll up here, and basically we're trying to ascertain whether you're beginners or intermediate users, and I can see that you are about half-half, and ditto half-half with your iOS using and strictly just Android.
Well, that I mean, he's going to have the 2 weeks isolation as well. So when he arrives, so if we can time it so that he can come out of quarantine when.
There we are. I'm just muting Marcus Gray there. Okay, so I'm just going to bring up a third question and then we'll get started. So if you can all answer this third poll here, gives us an idea of what we can expect today and how we can tailor the webinar for you. So we have on board with us today Edgar, who is the Android developer, and he'll be here to answer all your Android specific questions.
Yep, good day everyone. Can everyone hear me all right?
Yes, I can.
Yep, excellent.
Okay, and can everybody see the screen? You should be able to see a quick poll there, and we're just getting some results through now, so that's great. So you obviously can all see it, and then we'll get started on the hour. Right, so we've got 12 attendees in. I'll just let you absorb that last poll and we'll get started soon. So a lot of you have come over from using AvPlan Lite for Android, so that's helpful for us to know too. So what we have here is a relatively mixed ability group. So I think what we'll do is we'll cover some basics, then we'll cover some tips and tricks, and then we'll open a session at the end for questions. I'm going to leave you all on open mic unless I get some background noise for the minute. So if we do go too fast or there is something you specifically want to ask myself and Edgar as we go along, you are all open. If we get too much background noise, I'll mute you up. Your screen will tell you that you're muted, so you will know. All righty, I'm just going to close that poll. Thank you for filling those out. Now you should all be able to see Edgar's screen, and you should be able to see the AvPlan Android there. Can you say no if you can't see the screen? Okay, I assume you can all see the screen. Excellent. So let's get started. So welcome to AvPlan for Android. I'm Krisha, and with us, as I said before, is Edgar, who is the Android developer, who's here today to answer any questions that you have specifically for him. I'm going to be doing the walkthrough, and Edgar will be interjecting with any extra information. I am not the massive Android user myself, and I'm used to conducting the iOS webinars, so Edgar will fill in my gaps, as it were. Okay, so what we're going to do in the beginning is just make sure that you're all set up properly. So if you are coming over from iOS, there are a few little differences, so we just want to walk you through those things first, so that you're all properly set up. So if you'd like to walk with me now down to the settings icon in the bottom right-hand corner. I'm just going to mute Alan because he's got some background noise going on. Okay, great. So as you probably all know, but it's always worth working through. Edgar, if you could go to data downloads first. I just want to briefly mention that exactly like the iOS version, you only need to download the area that you're flying in. You don't need to download the entire country. And when you do download the area that you're flying in, that will bring everything you need across, so that your maps, your charts, your URSA pages, etc. So by clicking on the data download there, you are ensuring that you have.
Thanks a lot, Steve. Yep, bye-bye.
All righty. So just making sure that you have the area that you need to fly before you go flying. If you have any updates, you'll see a red update button in the bottom right-hand corner there. Edgar, can you point that out for me? And that update button will let you know that you've got data that needs to be updated. As you can see here, Edgar's got New Zealand that needs to be updated, and that will be red. If it's green, it's good to go. So before you go flying, always make sure that your data downloads are up to date. You'll see the validity of that data in the top corner there where it says data valid. There you are. If you want extra downloads, if you want to download maps and charts for areas where you are perhaps flying temporarily, you don't want to download the entire area, down here in other downloads is where you get your extra maps. I like to have the PCA, the planning chart. So that's where you'll access that there. So you'll see if it's downloaded, it will say delete next to it, meaning it's downloaded there. So that's the PCA chart if you want to download it. So other than that, it's relatively simple. So once we've made sure that we have downloaded the area that we need, we simply go along to user settings and make sure that we've got our settings customized. There we go. So you'll want to turn on automatic weather downloads because this will download the weather in the background, and this is incredibly handy when you're flying. You'll want to turn on waypoint auto sequencing, so that will sequence your waypoints as you fly. And if you like to log your aircraft track, this is where you turn it on here on the Android. This is also where you access the distance rings, so slightly different from the iOS version. You can access them here in settings, and what Edgar has done here is he's given you customizable rings so that you can choose your distance between 3, 10 or 25 nautical miles. And distance ring width there, Edgar, that allows you to draw a thicker or thinner ring. Is that correct? Yep.
Yes, that is correct. Yep.
You can make a thicker or thinner ring. So these are additions that we have on the Android that we don't have on the iOS version. So we've given you more customizability there, which is great if you're a student. You might like to use your distance rings a lot there. Okay, so back now on the Android, obviously you go back on the actual Android, not in a back button in AvPlan, which you, as Android users, you'll know is a difference. We've also allowed you to customize your notifications audibly. So if you click on Audible notifications and warnings, slightly different from the iOS version in that you have the Google voice rather than the Apple voice, but here are the things that you can customize. So you can Bluetooth this to your headset, and as you're flying along, you'll get an altitude warning, a frequency change, track heading, or battery status and charge if you switch those on there. So have a play around when you fly, see what you like and what you don't like. Some people love it, some people hate it. I think it's great. So entirely up to you, but if you want to use Audible, that's where you find it, right here in user settings. Okay, and next in user settings, just going back, making sure that you're properly set up here. You can change your aircraft icon here if you like. Over the years, we've added different aircraft icons. If Edgar can click on that, you see we have the same customizability here that we do on the iOS version. So if you're a helicopter, you can change to a helicopter here. Or if you're Paul Bennett, you can use the wolf pits. In fact, you can use wolf pits even if you're not Paul Bennett, if you like. That's where you change them. There. Okay. And storage location. Okay, Edgar, would you like to talk about this a little bit, because I'm not massively comfortable with Android and its storage, so do you mind?
Sure. If can anyone hear me all right?
Yes.
Yeah, good. Yep. Some devices have the option to put an SD card in, and when you do, here's the option where you can save some of the data, not all of it, but it will automatically save it to the SD card if you select it here. So that would include all the depth charts, all the AIP and URSA documents, they all get saved to the SD card just in case. The maps, however, will still be in the internal memory just in case, because it does happen that the connection to the SD card, is not as secure or not as reliable as the internal memory, obviously, and we don't want you to lose your maps, so the maps always will be stored in the internal memory.
Great, thanks for that, Edgar. Sorry, just got some background noise that I'm going to mute before we move on to the next stage here. Okay, so you can show your high-level wins here, and by toggling that one on, and you can also do full screen flight plan. Now, love it or hate it, it's not for me. Other people absolutely adore this. I work on the help desk, so I get a lot of questions about full screen flight plan when people accidentally turn it on and say, where's my flight plan gone? So if you do happen to lose your flight plan on the side of the left-hand side of AvPlan, it's because you've inadvertently turned on full screen flight plan, and this is where you come to turn it off. So it basically, can you demonstrate that for us, Edgar?
Cool. Yep. I also like to say that on the phone, so if you were to use AvPlan on a phone, this is automatically turned on. There's no option here. This is always full screen flight plan. So
good. That's good to know.
And then
so you show it.
So the map looks like this, and there's an extra button on the bottom left. I'll make the here. Called flight plans, and that then goes to a full screen flight plan. Especially useful when you use it in portrait mode, so not so much here in landscape, but in portrait you get a little bit more room.
That's great.
And
okay, so
I use this myself in portrait, and I'll keep switching between this while flying and the en route page.
Whereas I'm old school, having been with AvPlan from the start before full screen flight plan was there, I never use it because I've become so comfortable with having my flight plan on one side and my map on the other. So, but as we get older, us older pilots, we do need a little bit more space and larger font, so it is quite useful for that. So we have given you that option. The next option in user settings is really important if you want to sync your flight plans between devices. You'll need to have this turned on all devices. So if you're cross-platform, iOS and Android, turn it on all, or even if you're not, if you're just Android only, make sure you turn this on all your devices, and then that way your flight plans will sync across all the devices. Okay, just scrolling down for me now, Edgar. Thank you. This is where you put your NAPES username and password. And IFIS, if you're coming to us from New Zealand. Anyone coming to us from New Zealand today?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Raina. Oh, hello, Raina. Welcome back. Good to see you
Hello.
again. See you. Okay. Anyone else from New Zealand other than Raina?
Yeah, I am. Yep,
Oh, Steve.
yeah, I am.
Okay, excellent. So Edgar, do you want to remember to point out some features that might be different in New Zealand? Have you got many features
Sure.
in New Zealand?
So we can submit flight plans through IFIS if you put in your username and password here. The other difference is we don't have that much weather for New Zealand, but that's not Android specific. That's just in general. Unfortunately, I can show it now. Here in New Zealand weather. We do have the Met flight, but that basically is just a portal to the website where you have to log in again and get your weather. Unfortunately, we don't really get to tap in here. But what is exciting is that in the new version, the ones you're seeing today, this is the latest version, which is not out to the public yet. I'll show you later, but we have the metas on the map now, and a lot more metas than you used to have.
Oh, that's
That is coming soon.
Okay. So we're having a difficulty with Met Service getting the rain radar. We can't get the rain radar for New Zealand. So every once in a while, I demonstrate the rain radar, and then my poor New Zealand customers say it's not working. It won't work because we don't have that relationship with Met Services yet. Or if ever, we don't know. So when we come to demonstrate the rain radar, we apologize for that to our Kiwis. But other than that, mostly all the features we have in Australia, we also have in New Zealand, other than a few little things. So scrolling down now, do make sure you've got the data ticked for the country that you're in. If you do travel between Australia and New Zealand, for example, make sure you toggle over the data there. Here you see Edgar's got both Australian data and New Zealand data turned on. So just make sure you do have that turned on or you won't have any functionality. And down the bottom here is where you can change your application colors. There you are. So you can customize those by clicking on them there and changing them on the scale. So that's handy distinction to have there. So, alrighty, so once we've got everything set up, we know that AvPlan is going to be running perfectly for us in the background. The most important things there are to make sure that you've got your flight plan synced, to make sure you've got your NAICS or your IFIS password in, and to make sure that you are on the correct data. All the other things are minor customizable options. Let's go now over to my account. So this is different. We don't have this on the iOS under this way, but if you, so you've got your subscriptions, your account, and manage password here. So if you need to change your password, you can do it right here in app. There's nothing else I need to know about that, is there, Edgar, my account?
No, it just works as it should. And if you reset a password though, it will send a new password to the email address you have provided in the box above. If your email address has changed, that might make it difficult, and then just easiest to get in contact with us on the phone.
Yeah. Yeah, so if you want to change your email address, let us know, and we can do that over the phone or by email. Okay, AvPlan live tracking. Yeah, it's just where you turn on all your live tracking, so you can see other AvPlan enabled aircraft. And there's some customization features there for you to have a play with. And this is where you can share your active flight plan if you like to do so. And down to aircraft type database. Is there many differences here, Edgar, between the Android and the iOS version that we need to know about?
There is. It's mostly the same. The part that is missing at the moment is the weight and balance section. I am working on that, but it's not ready yet.
Yep, coming soon. And under the more types, can you show us what's there?
Oh yes, so that's there's planes you see here. The aircraft types are the ones on the device. If you press the more types, that's the one that are on our server. It's a whole list of a lot of different aircraft, and if you think it's usually a good starting point if you have a similar aircraft or the same. You can just download it here. Let me select one, say a VTEL Bonanza. Looks good. I'll just tap on it.
Oh, yeah, favorite aircraft. Thank you.
Yep, and it will download it and put it here. It should pop up here. Go back to refresh.
It might just take a while to download there.
No, it should be relatively fast, to be honest. It should do it. I think it is there, just not showing it. Just have to refresh it.
Okay, great. And the plus is if you want to add an aircraft type manually.
From scratch, yeah.
Scratch, yeah. So if you've got an unusual aircraft and you don't want to use a template, hit the plus and build your aircraft there. I'm assuming everybody is coming to us today with an aircraft already on their tablet.
Yep. And
this is you can customize further and the basic performance, etc. And this is where you can also share your aircraft details. So you might want to that's a friend who also flies the same aircraft. So to build it from scratch. Yeah, sorry, Peter, just going to mute you out there.
Oh, I do have a question for you.
Okay, Peter Blake. Go ahead,
Yeah,
Peter Blake.
Just a quick one on the aircraft database there. The one step that I found very confusing is you need to download one of the standard aircraft, but then you need to make a copy of it and customize it because it doesn't have all the details you need to start with, and that was a little bit confusing to start with.
Edgar, do you want to answer that?
What exactly do you mean?
Well, you've got your database of aircraft.
Yep.
You can download one of them, but you need to then make a copy, or I found you needed to make a copy of it and then put in your own registration and details and things. The other one didn't work or have all the details.
Yeah, it could be that the one on the server doesn't have everything which is appropriate for your aircraft, but you don't have to make a copy. You can just overwrite whatever is in there.
Yeah, okay. I found that area difficult to work out.
Okay.
Okay, thanks for that.
Yeah, thanks for that. It's exactly the same as the iOS, so it could be that there is room for improvement for sure. We are working on overhauling that section, so this will be a more standalone piece of the app later on. It's called then aircraft management, and it will be slightly different. We'll be adding some functionality there as well, but I'll gladly take your feedback, because while we're improving this, we might as well make it more intuitive.
Great, thank you.
I actually agree with Peter that there is a slight discord there in setting up your aircraft type. So it's the first time I've heard this. So, but thank you again, Peter, for pointing. We will be remodeling. So yes, as Edgar said. Sorry, was someone else asking a question there?
Yeah, Rainer, I have a question as well. I pushed the plus button at the top there, and then I dismissed it to get out of there.
No.
And I have this blank line there. How do I get rid of that?
Just tap and slide it to the left, and there's the delete button there.
Ah, I never saw that. Awesome, thanks.
Oh, you're welcome. All righty. So where were we? All right. So we aircraft type database. Yes, as Edgar said, we are modifying this for a future version, but the iOS and the Android are very similar in terms of aircraft setup. So once you have your aircraft set up and you have set up your user settings, we are pretty much ready to walk through the en route button. Is there anything else you wanted there, Edgar? Did you want to go through the maintenance section, or are we good to go over to en route now?
Yeah, we can quickly talk about the maintenance section. It's just sometimes when some data doesn't get deleted all the time. Most of it does, especially with nav data changes, and especially change regions as well. So here's always options to delete data which is not used anymore. It's sometimes good to do. And if you have some issues or crashes or something, which it really helps is if you can send debug information. If you can turn that on, that will then send error logs when something happens to our server, and we can find what's happening exactly and where it goes wrong.
Yeah, so if you could turn that on, we always appreciate it, as when you come through the help desk, it helps us extract the information specifically to your iPad. So thank you very much. Let's go over now to the en route section. And I just want to talk about a little bit of customizability here. This is largely the same as the iOS, isn't it? In that the settings icon is in the top right-hand corner. And this is where you switch on and off anything pertaining to the map. So if you've got something on your map and you don't want it, or you've got something missing from your map and you do want it, this is where you go. So we've separated it into 3 little sections for you. And this is where you toggle things on and off. So most people want show aircraft track. Most people want traffic. Most people want airspace, or active airspace at least. And most people want runway center lines. And often ALAs, people often write to me on the help desk and say, I can't see the small airports. Where are all the small airports? ALAs will turn on your aircraft landing areas, I believe they're called. There, so that's all the non-registered airports. So if you want those on, turn those on here. Also, you can access your distance rings here and your rocket boxes, which I love. So if you want your rocket boxes on, here they go. If you want to draw on the map, here is where you do that too, and all your route markers. Okay, if you hate the heads-up display, this is where you turn off the heads-up display. And if you love the heads-up display, this is where you turn it on. So now with this heads-up display, we've got a little bit more customizability than we do on the iOS version. So Edgar, do you want to talk us through that?
Sure, we got some requests of pilots who wanted to have bigger font in there, so we made the option of a big HUD. So if we tap in the to field and long press on it, you'll get the option to select the big HUD. And when you do, the boxes get combined, so you'll have the half the amount of boxes, but they're double the size.
Yeah. And I think this is great because personally, I don't use all the boxes in the HUD. I have a favorite of 5. So I think if you're getting short-sighted and you don't need all the boxes, then Big HUD is a good choice there. And we can, of course, customize those individual panes, can't we, Edgar, by pressing on each individual pane to reveal a drop-down menu. So you can change your heads-up display there. Great. Okay, so just moving along the top now, across from that icon is our weather button. So on AvPlan, we have 2 weather buttons, and I'd like to call them long range weather planning and immediate weather planning. So this one here is our immediate weather planning, and what goes on when you press this button is what's reflected on the map. So if you want the weather radar overlay on, this is where you turn it on and it'll come over your map. Apologies to our New Zealand customers who don't have that. Edgar, can you demonstrate it, the radar, for me?
See if we can find some rain around.
Last couple of webinars, I haven't found any rain anywhere. Usually Tasmania is a safe bet, but yeah, it's very clement here in Sydney. Anyway, not much weather to show you, but perhaps we can demonstrate instead the infrared satellite, where we may see some cloud.
Yeah, probably.
There we are. Let's try that instead. Should give us some cloud cover there. And these are the these are our animated radar overlays. So they do tend to chew up your battery a little bit. So this is a good time for me to point out that it's important that you're flying with backup battery. You don't have a USB port in your aircraft. Make sure you do have a battery pack, because I find if I have everything switched on, I will not get a full flight.
You can see there's some cloud on the top there, isn't there? This is Brisbane.
Yep, excellent. So down from our animated radar overlays, we also have our static overlays. So I usually fly with all of these turned on, but this is entirely up to you. Obviously, you're going to want your METARs. So let's have those switched on. I like to have the SIGMETs if it's not too much of a SIGMET-y day. If there are lots of SIGMETs, they do clutter up your map, and they overlay in different colors. So if all of a sudden your map is changing color and you've got layers of purple and orange, that's because you've accidentally switched on your SIGMETs. So go up to weather to turn those off. And also the weather cameras, also in the weather, they're in the static weather overlay section. And love them or hate them, this is where you turn them on. I think they're brilliant. Some people find them too cluttery on the map. So
question?
Yes, go ahead, of course.
Just why are the cameras different colors?
Oh, good question. Edgar?
So if there is a METAR station coinciding with the weather camera, we display the METAR in a visual way. So green means VFR conditions, blue is marginal VFR conditions, and yellow is IFR, and red would be low IFR conditions.
Oh, great. That's very good.
So they're not the cameras, they're the METARs there. Can you just pinch in a minute for me, Edgar? I can't quite see in detail.
Sure.
I got the UK number here.
Excellent. I see. Right? Yeah. So you demonstrate. Yes. And so also on the METARs there, you've got the wind direction and the wind velocity. So the direction being the tail, and the velocity being the tip of the tail there.
And the pointing into wind.
Yes. Yes, well said. I've never thought to point that out. Well said. Okay, so these metars, then, if you press on them, you get more detail. So can you show us that, Edgar?
Yeah, this will change. So just press on Griffith. You actually have to tap on the airfield to get the meta information.
Oh, aha, okay, understood. So in the iOS, it comes.
Yeah, and that will change, but yeah.
Okay, and have you got the plain English meta embedded underneath that or not?
Not right here. It does when you go to terminal. So
Terminal. Oh, great. And we'll talk about terminal later.
Okay. Well, yeah.
So, yeah, great. So basically, on the en route page, I always say tap once for anything pertaining to the air and tap twice for anything pertaining to the ground. So if you double tap Edgar, you get your airspace information.
Yeah. So a double tap is everything in the air, and single tap is on the ground.
Oh, the other way around. Okay.
Yeah.
Right. Excellent.
Same as an iOS.
So, okay, righto. So there's your airspace information right there with your tap. Okay, so what else? I just wanted to walk through a couple of other things on the en route page, just making sure that we have covered off everything. So back to the top, next to the weather icon is our map icon. And Edgar, you might want to talk a little bit about the new mapping system that we have in the Android.
Sure, that's just that button there. So the Android version at the moment has the new map, which I'll show you. It's just of a base map and an overlay. So, and then we can actually turn the overlay off here. So we turn off the sectional. We'll have the dark base map, and which is a vector-based map which we have generated. So that's our own AvPlan map, and it works so that when you zoom in, you actually get more detail, whereas with the overlays, the sectional, or what do you call the mega VFR map, actually gets less detailed when you zoom in. It gets more pixely. Here, let me try and go this way. Also, I'm working on the simulator, and it's a bit slow. As we zoom in, you can see we get more and more detail. Let me trying to scroll to Melbourne. It's not really working. Let's scroll to Ballarat instead.
Yeah.
So as we zoom in, you can actually see then the airfield with the runways, or even all the streets.
That's brilliant.
So
this is exclusive currently to the Android version. The iOS version doesn't have this yet, although I do believe it's coming.
Yeah, it is coming to iOS, but not at the moment. You can actually see there's a grass strip here as well. 1331. That's so that's differently colored, and you can see the taxiways and the center lines there as well. So and that works on any airfield. And so we're adding all the, so that you can actually see airspace, the roads as well. Our goal is to basically recreate the mega VFR map, but in a vector-based fashion. So it'll be faster, it'll be smaller to download, and you can turn it off and on as many or as little features as you like.
Is this feature also available in New Zealand? I can't see that.
Yeah, it should be. So when you turn off, so if you go to the map settings, if you turn off the local maps, so if something is selected.
Select local maps.
You turn off everything, so and then you should see the dark map.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's then the same in New Zealand, isn't it? Should be.
Okay, when I'm going to Tauranga and I zoom in there, I can't see any runways, runway directions.
Okay.
And Only the main sealed runway, not the grass ones.
I'll have to.
The other thing,
It depends on what kind of airfield is it. Is it a tiny one or a bigger one?
no, it's a bigger one. It has commercial traffic.
I'll have to look into that. I'm not sure where the data is coming from for this map. And it could be that in New Zealand we have less data to work with. Could be.
Yep. Okay, and then while I'm at it, also a question on the meters. I can't see the meters either.
Correct. In the version you have, we don't have meters on the map. We just this week added them to New Zealand, and in the version which is coming out, so the version I'm showing you is 1.2 that will go to beta on Monday. And then if that all goes well, it should be coming to everyone not long after. And that will have the meters on the map. I can show you here. I'll zoom out a lot. And then you should see the New Zealand meters as well. Let's go over here. Oh. Scrolling in the simulator is a bit. So that's the webcams. You can see those. And if I zoom in, the meter should appear as well. Where am I now? I'm lost. Oh.
Oh, you've gone over to
yeah,
Chile.
It jumps every now and then.
Oh, okay, because if you're on the simulator.
Yeah. More webcams.
There we are.
And there's the meters here.
Yeah.
I don't know where you are, but yeah, these are coming in the next week or two. And also same with the Australian ones. These will be now plain text. So as you can see here, I mean, Krisha will get to it, but we translate them into plain text. So which is also new for New Zealand. I don't think the iOS version does that. It might.
I don't know in New Zealand. It does in Australia.
Yep.
I can't New Zealand, but next time I do a New Zealand demo, I'll have a check.
Yep.
Okay. Righto. So so we just wanted to show you those new maps because they are different and you've got them before the iOS version. So if you do want to scroll down and have more detail, then the base maps are the ones to use. Raina will get back to you at the end about what's going on there for you in New Zealand. I'll get Edgar to drill down on that towards the end. Okay, just up at the top again now, just two buttons that I like to show everybody. The direct to, which is your invaluable direct to. This will overwrite everything else on your flight plan. It will just take you from where you are to where you go direct to. That's correct, Edgar? You haven't got anything in direct to that I need to
well, it won't overwrite your flight plan. It will still be active, but it will create a direct to. So it shows you all the waypoints around you, so the nearest one first, and so you can then select wherever you want to go. So if I want to go to Essendon, or let's go a bit further away, Melbourne, that's good. I press the plus button and it will create a direct to straight from where I am to, you can see in the HUD, you still flying out.
What I meant by override was that the AvPlan will now default to the direct to rather than what you have in your flight plan.
Correct.
Sorry, I should have been quite much more clearer there.
That is correct, yeah. So we'll show you here and then show you then your distance to, it's 22 miles would now be to your, the direct to, yeah.
Your direct to point. So what you see in the HUD now will be pertaining to the direct to that you just created. And to delete that direct to, if you decide,
press on the YMML here on the to field. So I press there, it deletes it. Or if I select another lag, it will then switch to that lag. So if you're flying along and you can say here, flight long to activate lag on any other lag, it will then switch to that lag, make that active instead of the directive.
Okay, and Edgar, can you delete that from the flight plan as well by clicking on Melbourne and just going to delete? Do you have that function like we do in iOS?
That is a very good question. Oh, that I tapped on the weather cam now.
Doing that. Oh,
that's
nice. That's beautiful.
I'll tap next to it here. Good question. So if I say direct to Melbourne, now tap on Melbourne.
Yeah. No,
but
okay.
I will add that.
The iOS. Yeah, but I mean, in AvPlan, there are always at least 3 ways of doing one thing. So I like to show all the ways because we tend to get rooted in our favorite way and not know about other ways. So thanks for that. Okay, and along the top, just to the top corner of the map, the lines and dots there, that's how you toggle between full page and flight plan. So it's as if you tap your flight plan underneath your map. If you could show us that in action, sure. Edgar. Yeah, thank you. If you do want to go temporarily full screen, you don't want to use the full screen function, you want to toggle between the two, that's where you do it there at the top. A lot of people hit this by accident and then panic and say, where has my flight plan gone? So if you get full screen and you haven't changed it in the settings, you've invariably tapped that button there. So just tap it again to get your flight plan back. So that's pretty much everything we need to show you on the en route page. Oh, except for Edgar's cleverly put UTC on the map page, whereas in iOS, we have it on the flight plan section. So if you do toggle to full screen map, you get your UTC on the map, unlike iOS, where you get it on the flight plan. So that's a definite bonus feature there. All right, let's make a flight plan. So Edgar's already got one in, but
no, we can make a new one.
Yeah, close that one out and we'll make a flight plan and just walk through the regular steps there. So again, in AvPlan, there are many different ways you can make a new plan. You can start with by tapping the corner here and go new plan, or you can also access new plan from the planning pane, or you can simply tap on where you are and where you're going. Sorry, I'm going a little fast there. There you are. You can put your new flight plan in there if you want to, or you can type in the green bar on the flight plan, you can type in the idents of the airports that you're going to. So Edgar, if you type in where you are now, are you in Moorabbin? You are. So if you show us Moorabbin there, so you can type in Moorabbin there, and you can simply say, let's say you were going to Bankstown, you could type in Bankstown there, or you could tap Bankstown on the map and it would draw a direct line. What I normally do is put my starting point and my destination, my departure and my destination in there, and then I move the line around with my finger to the places I want to go. I mean, everyone's different. Some people, they do the same thing time and time and time again, and they just tap in the idents. So entirely up to you, but AvPlan has given you multiple ways to do the same thing, and everyone has their favorite way, and that's my favorite way right there. So by dragging and dropping the line, you can add your waypoints and or airports there. Okay. If you make a mistake or you drop on an airport that you don't want, the easiest way to delete it is to come down into the flight plan, bottom left-hand corner, and use the edit button.
On iOS, yes. In Android, you can't yet. Sorry.
Oh, I'm so sorry. We didn't go through that, Edgar. Okay, show us your best way of making a delete.
To tap and hold on the name there, you get this menu, and the top one is delete. So that's the easiest way.
Do you have the finger dragging option as well?
Yeah. So if you tap and hold on the log, you get the blue line, and you can drag and hold to the other field. There you go.
So you can just pull the line. There you are. Okay, multiple ways. So what have you got in your edit button down there then?
basically clear times and track and reverse or invert the plan at the moment.
If we want to go from back home to Melbourne from Bankstown, then you simply tap reverse,
No,
invert.
Invert. So if I do that, then, yeah. Now it's Bankstown to Moorabbin, so it goes the other way. And
Yes, go ahead.
I don't have those extra options down the bottom under the plot plan description.
Sorry, should have said that. That is coming in this version, so those are relatively new. Yeah, or they are very new, and they'll be out in the next version, which is coming out very soon.
Oh, great, excellent. Thanks for that, Edgar.
So,
okay.
Yeah, so I forgot about that because I've been using them for a while now.
Yes, yeah. All right, so let's go back to the planning pane in the bottom left-hand corner of the map. And what I like to do is use this planning pane as something of as a checklist. So ordinarily, I'll go new flight plan and then weight and balance, aircraft loading and fuel planning. Now, weight and balance is still coming in the Android, but we do have some fuel planning capability here, don't we? Yes.
That is also new in this version, so you won't see this. There's just in the version you guys are using, it probably just comes up with the POB and the fuel, basically the 2 fields, if I remember correctly. So I think it's this one and that one. So this one does have the fuel planning. If I put it on altitude, correct the, say we'll go 4,500 on this one. We'll then calculate your fuel based on your climb and cruise performance, fuel burn, and then if I tap in, put in 120 liters, say, that will then calculate, select an aircraft. Here we go. So that'll give us a full calculations and fuel planning for this flight plan. But that is new again, so this will be out in the next 2 weeks.
Excellent, that's great.
So, and you can, if you're familiar with the iOS version, you notice this big empty area here. Here, let's see if I can. It's here. This is where the weight and balance will go with the envelope, but at the moment that's not finished yet, so that's why it's empty, but that's where it will be.
Great, excellent. So that's all coming soon. I know you've been working on that for a while now, so that's exciting news. Okay, so let's go back to the planning again and work through our checklist here as I like to. So this is your user waypoint database. If you want to create a user waypoint or access one you made earlier, this is where you'll find your user waypoints. So by hitting the plus in the top corner, you can create your own waypoint. Edgar, do you want to show us that?
You can.
You showed me something
yeah.
so that's good. Go ahead.
Well, this is one way of doing it. Just you have to put in the latitude and longitude manually, and it does accept different formats. I like to use them, create the user waypoints on the map, because then I know exactly where they go.
But if you're looking for a street to do it through a street address,
yes, you can. Yeah.
But show us how you do it on the map too. That's also how I like.
So this is just any street address. So if we go to Flinders Street in Melbourne, there we go. It comes up with that. So we tap on it. It automatically puts everything in, and you'll also see the Google map when it loads. There it is. And the cool thing here is if you want to fine tune it, if you tap and hold on the marker, you can actually slide around. It's like, no, this is exactly where I want to be, and it will update the let long. So if you put in a friend's farm and it's not quite correct, that's where you can edit it. On the map, basically you just go to wherever it needs to go. So you think, oh, this is where I want. You tap once, and then the first entry here is add user waypoint. And when you tap that one, we'll actually create that user waypoint and name it as a lat long, but that will change in a future version. People find these hard to read, and I agree.
Yeah. So you'll be allowing us to rename those.
Oh, sure, yeah. So here you'll see
whereas,
that created waypoint, and then you can just do it to
writing.
Steve. If that's Steve's farm. There we go. Yep.
That's great. Okay, so you use the Waypoint database is there, and then underneath it, this is where you submit your start time or your flight plan. So Edgar, do you want to click on start time?
Yeah, so that will submit a start time only and not a flight plan. This is in the iOS version. Everything that is green that is missing needs your attention. So at the moment I built this in. If you can, so we're missing an ETD here. And then we'll put everything else in, and here's the start time.
Excellent. And can you cancel that in app?
You can. Yeah, so that's here with start time. If you tap on the bottom or on that, it says no active start time. So if you would have one in the system, here is where it can be cancelled.
Okay. And the same with the flight plan?
So yeah, same with the flight plan. You can add a start time as well if you like. So at the bottom it pre-fills everything depending on the aircraft you have selected. Pre-fills as much as it can. Again, the ETD is not set, so let's set one here for 0400. That will then put that in here. And the green goes away. And there is a start time here as well, where you can actually set a start time. And you can set it to anything you like. For example, done. And then you can submit it to NAPES. I actually haven't put in my NAPES details so that you can't do it now, but it does work. And you can cancel, again, the flight plan or the start time as well from the app.
So you no longer have to call sensor, you can cancel everything inside the app. And when you set your start time, do you get an alarm warning to remind you to cancel it like we do with iOS?
It does ask you, yeah, if you want to add an entry to your calendar, and if you accept, then we'll do it, and we'll get notified 10 minutes before.
Great, excellent. That's a really handy feature that I have come to depend upon.
That has saved me a few times.
Likewise, absolutely. So as you can see, flight planning and flight filing is very, very similar to the iOS version. And did you have a feature coming soon that you need to tell us about regarding flight filing, Edgar?
I'm not sure where you're aiming at, Tricia.
Oh, no, you don't? Okay, no, I can't remember whether you were telling me yesterday that we were adding something here. Multi-stages?
Oh, yeah,
No?
yeah, multi-stage flight planning. So that's the other thing I've been working on, which is in this version, not in the ones you have. So if you do have multiple stages, say we want to land at Wagga, so we'll split the stage, Bankstown to Wagga and Wagga to Moorabbin. Then if you go back here, you can then select per stage. So it will you can actually set a start time for arrival at stage 1 or arrival at stage 2. That just works as it should. This is in iOS basically. That's something that will be in a new version. So the start time you can select here as well, which stage it should be.
Great. Yeah, that's what I was getting at.
Yes, yeah. Thank you.
No worries. Excellent. Thanks for showing us that. So well, now we've pretty much done a flight plan. Let's go back to the en route page. Okay, and we will click departure.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh, and it toggles us over to fly.
It does,
And
yeah.
now we get our live strip with our information on it on our actual flight plan. So this will be pre-filled, and of course our heads-up display lights up with lots more information. If you forget to do this, as we often do, it will automatically turn on when you are airborne. Is that right, Edgar?
Yeah, and I think it's 2 miles from your departure. So once you've flown 2 miles, it will then realize, all right, we've left, and we'll automatically switch to fly mode.
Yeah, so if you do forget, don't worry, AvPlan will do that for you. So all that remains now after we've made our flight plan and we are going flying is to really walk through terminal. So if you think terminal, think airport and everything pertaining to the airport. So let's go now and click on, say, Bankstown. So to access terminal, the best way to do it is to simply tap on that line in the flight plan, and that will always open the terminal page for you.
Yeah.
So here's your terminal page, and here's everything you need to possibly know about Bankstown there. So your charts, not the charts are under their own tab in the Android, aren't they, rather than a swipe?
Yeah.
So that's a difference I like to point out to iOS users versus Android users. So Edgar, if you can just pop on the charts for us there. All your charts are under their own button there, and you just click on them to see them. There you go. There. And you can print them from here. And the symbol next to the printer, that's our georeference symbol. So rather than having georeference written on the charts like we do on iOS, it's just given us a georeference symbol at the top there.
And that will place it on the map.
Oh yes, show that, Edgar, that's great.
Okay, so this is the button. There you go, yeah.
So if you were using that on your own tablet, it would be much faster.
Yeah.
It's just the simulator slowing us down there.
You will see your aircraft symbol on this as well.
And you put your chart on the map. And if we go back to the terminal now for 1 second. There you go. So we're back on Bankstown. Could you close out that? Yeah, so that's where your detailed information about Bankstown will be. So if you click on leg details for me. There you go. This is where you can add your delay. If you're going to have a delay, you can just type that in there, and then that will put that in your flight plan for you. Your comms, of course, are on the next button, and your MET and your plain English MET are on the third button there. So if you scroll down, there's your plain English MET, which is really handy if you're flying with a non-pilot passenger, although you want them to know about the weather. You can guide them to this section here, where it's the plain English. Next to that will be your NOTAMs, winds. Okay, NOTAMs and your winds. Okay, and where does this wind model come from, Edgar?
So this is the same data as in the grid point and temperature grid. So the ones that come from NAPES, from Air Services wind.
Great. Okay, so that's your grid point temperatures and whatnot. Yes, and then next to that you've got your satellite image of the airport, which is always handy to have. Lovely. That's Bankstown. And your aim there. The top icon there in the top right-hand corner of the book allows you to search for any airport. So if you're looking for a particular airport, you just search for it there.
I think it actually does Bankstown. Yeah, you can search for the name as well. It doesn't have to be identifier.
Yes, that's right. It doesn't have to be an ident. Same in iOS. You can put in the word Bankstown and it will bring you up everything pertaining to Bankstown there. So that's quite handy. If you just want to see a terminal for something you don't have in the map, in your plan, then that's the easiest way to access there. So we are pretty much on the hour. We haven't walked through everything, but what I'd like to do now is open it up to questions. And I've just mute the barking dog, Rodney. There. Sorry. Okay, I'm going to open it up to questions to everybody and unmute you all, and you go ahead and ask questions.
I've seen a question just now by Ellen Reuter, about the difference between the VFR Dark and Lighten app. That's a very good question. I can show you. So the VFR dark is a simpler map. So if I get rid of so this is basically the basic information. If we switch to that one, light map, you'll see mountains as well, like a relief, which looks a lot more like a real WEC chart. It also does take a lot more resources though. So if you're on a slower device, I wouldn't recommend using this map. It looks great. And again, if you zoom in, you'll get more and more information. It looks really good. We got all the symbols here as well with obstacles and mines and golf courses on here. So basically your WEC chart. But yeah, this does make your device a bit slower.
Great.
Power lines as well on here and VFR routes. Oh, we got more.
Excellent. Does anyone have any questions after that?
Yeah, hello.
Hi. Go ahead, Peter.
Thank you. Look, just on the terminal map, when you're looking for the winds and the charts, the simulator, you had 4 buttons in the top right that I didn't have.
Let's have a look.
Yeah, that's they're only there when you click on a terminal which is in your plan, and
right.
The land and overfly button, they're new as well. They have to do with the multi-stage. So basically, you can select whether you want to land at that field or you want to overfly, and that will create then a next stage or combine 2 stages to 1.
Right. Thank you.
Yeah, I've got a question regarding that as well.
Go ahead, Louise.
I've got an airfield in my flight plan, and in the terminal I haven't got those 3 buttons, so I can't split the stages. I'm currently on a mobile device.
Yep, correct. So the multi-stage is brand new. That is not in the version you have yet, but it will be in the next 2 weeks.
Fair enough. Thank you.
So it's showing you some, what's about to come. Yep.
I have a question too, please. The screen you're showing at the moment, or had just before, where you have the flight plan on the left and the maps on the right.
Yep.
I'm using it on a mobile phone, and I haven't been able to. Yes, I can't bring that split screen up.
On the phone, the full screen flight plan option is mandatory, so that you always have either the map or the flight plan. So you will have the extra button called I'll turn it on here as well. So on a phone, it will always look like this. You can't change it. So you have flight plans on the left. So if you tap that one, it will look like this on the phone.
Okay, thank you. And just another question with the in settings. Now I'm having a few problems. I've just switched to settings and I've got a messed up screen. When this happens, and sometimes it freezes, I have to restart the application completely. But what I have to ask is the licenses. I signed up some time back for the beta one, or whatever it's called. Can you click the license for me, please?
I'm not sure what you mean there. So
if you click,
just click on the license pane on the. Tap on the license pane there for me.
That one.
The license under AvPlan live tracking. Is that what you meant, Alan?
Yes. Now you've got demo valid till the 8th of June. Mine says December, or no, January, I think. I had to close the app, and I'm just going back in at the moment. Oh no, my account, is it? Where are we? Hang on. I'm just trying. Yes, my account, my subscriptions. Mine says demo valid until 22nd of January 2020. Just wondering why it doesn't have a future date.
So the demo is only the 30-day free trial. So, so once you start the app for the first time on that device, it will automatically give you a 30-day license. So the one on this device got expired on the, or will expire on the 8th of June. I just created it yesterday.
Right. Okay. Thanks. I thought that was the because I had opted in to give feedback on beta features.
Oh,
I thought that was that. So
oh,
that's
yeah, no, that's
not right.
a 30-day free trial. Yeah.
Thanks.
Not a problem.
Okay. No, that's all right. Thanks.
Excellent. Thanks for that. Okay, do we have any further questions?
Yes, I have one.
Go ahead, Marcus.
Yeah, hi. I just wanted to check on that Direct 2 on the Android version. When you have the HUD up and you do a Direct 2, while you have an active flight plan going in the background, if you actually execute that Direct 2 and you actually get to the waypoint that you've gone Direct 2 to, and that happens to be on your flight plan somewhere, will the flight plan reactivate from that point, or do you have to activate the leg?
No, that should auto sequence to the leg, then which is after the Direct 2.
Okay, good, thanks.
So if you get a Direct 2 because of track shortening by ATC, then yes, it will direct you to that Direct 2 waypoint, and then from there on, it will just continue on the plan.
Yep, great, thanks.
On the bottom of my menu window, it says the session is being recorded. Are we going to be able to look back over this to go over some of the things that we've been shown at all?
Yes, yes, Alan. Yeah, that's the possibility. Yes, so we'll just convert recording after the session, and we'll make it available on our YouTube channel.
Yep.
Sorry, you faded out there. Make it available where, please?
On our YouTube channel. If you go to YouTube, it will simply be AvPlan EFB.
Thank you. That's great.
I see.
I have another question.
Oh, you go ahead.
Sorry, I have just one more question. I was enrolled in the seminar on Wednesday afternoon, and when I clicked to join, it said it was full, and so I've just sent. So is that one going to be recorded as well? And
it already is. It's already on our YouTube channel. We're really sorry about that. Realised that our GoToWebinar settings cut us off at 100 attendees. We assumed we had 500 because it allowed 500 up to 500 to register. But unfortunately, there was a bit of a disconnect between how many people were allowed to register and how many people were allowed to attend. So a couple of people missed out, and we're really sorry about that. So we have placed the webinar on our YouTube channel, and it'll be the first webinar that you see when you open the YouTube channel.
Okay, thanks. And the only one other thing I need to mention was when I first started up this one, with the polls that you gave at the start, I wasn't able to click on those or submit them.
Oh, okay. Oh, this is the first time we've used the poll, so that's really good feedback. Did anyone else have a problem with the poll?
No, I also wasn't able to click on them.
Okay, righto. And we did have 75% of you did access them, so that's interesting. I'll drill down and find out why that's happening. Any idea why that might be happening?
No, not at all. I couldn't because I'm a co-presenter, so I wasn't allowed to click them.
But we're not allowed to tamper with the poll data. But yeah, that's interesting. I will drill down and see if I can find out.
Yeah. I see another question from Matthew here. He asked about, is there a tablet you have found that gives better performance, or is there something you would recommend? He also mentions the Intel Atom processor. I do remember years ago now, like 3 years ago, we had issues with the Intel Atoms. So since then, we've been avoiding them. We find the in general, the Samsung Galaxy Tabs work really well, and they have a really good screen too, because the cheaper versions, usually the screen is not as bright, and if you then fly along and you have sun shining in, they're becoming hard to read. So the most we have here are Samsungs.
Thanks for that.
Sorry, I've got one quick question. Is on my en route screen, I've got a red box. Do you know what that means?
A red box. What exactly does it look like?
Just a red sort of outline of a box just around a particular area. I can't see why it would be a restricted area or anything, but yeah, I'm not sure. Have you seen that before?
Yeah. What happens if you double tap on it on the box?
Nothing. All it comes up with is your nearest items.
No, press do that window away and then a double tap, so a quick tap. So it should come up with a different window then.
Okay, it's just got select airspace.
Yep.
Yeah, it's nothing else really that I can sort of make out for it.
At the bottom of that list, does it say something like PRD and active or check?
Yeah, it says PRD D164. Okay, fair
That's
enough.
probably what it is then. And if it's solid red, the whole square, then it probably says active as well.
Yep, that's the one.
You can actually tap on it, and if it gives you information about it. So in this case, if you can still see my screen, if I tap on it, it will tell you exactly what it is and why it's active. And
yeah, okay, cool. Thanks. That it just says check for this one, so it actually isn't doing anything.
If we don't know, then it will say check, and you'll have to check yourself, because some of the active hours are a bit they're hard to interpret it for a computer. So if it says like only Tuesdays from 1 till 3, then and earlier when daylight savings or in public holidays, or we don't tell you they're active, we'll just say check, and you have to check for yourself.
Okay, thanks. That.
Great. Does anyone have any further questions?
Yes, it's Rainer here. I have a question. How I primarily use the iPad. Have this one as the Android as a backup. How do I sync aircraft between Boers?
So if you have sync flight or aircraft, you say?
Aircraft, yes.
At the moment, you can export it and then send an email from one device to the other. That's the way it works at the moment. We are working on syncing it through our server as well, but that's being overhauled too. So that's why I haven't put it in yet.
Yeah, okay, good.
The way it works at the moment is you have to extend all aircraft, whereas we want to just be able to send one or to anyone. So at the moment you can export if you go to settings, aircraft type database, and you select your aircraft here. There is export aircraft details, and if you tap that one, it will create a window with a file, and if you import that file into AvPlan on the other device, it will import that aircraft profile.
Yeah, okay, very good, thanks.
Along the same lines, I've got an iPad mini with the iOS, obviously, and I'm also using an Android phone as my backup.
Yep.
I tried getting the user waypoints to sync between the two, and I couldn't find out how to do it. Is that a similar thing?
That's the same. That's very, very similar actually. So the mechanism we're making to sync the aircraft will be exactly the same mechanism for the waypoint. So at the moment it doesn't work yet because I'm waiting for the part on the server to finish so we can start using it. But yeah, and there's a lot more which ties into that. I won't bore you with the details. Once it works, it will be great, but you have to be a little bit patient for that.
Excellent. Thanks, Edgar. We have another question here in the box, which is an interesting one. This is from Richard. He says, as a safety feature, are there any plans to show traffic from Oz runways as well as AvPlan? Edgar, do you want to take that, or do you want me to take it?
I think you have dealt with this question many times. I think you multiple
times. So I managed to ask this question of Baz Sheffers when we were at Parks recently, and he was giving an Oz Runways masterclass, and he said that Oz Runways will not share traffic with AvPlan. We've made it publicly. We've made a public statement saying that we are quite happy to share our traffic with Oz Runways. So if you want Oz Runways to share traffic with us, I'm afraid you're going to have to badger Oz Runways. For our part, we'd be delighted to share traffic because we believe it is a safety feature. And if we're able to see all the traffic, then of course we're safer in the sky. So just wanted to feed that back to you. If you do want to repeatedly email Baz Sheffers, go ahead.
I've got a question with the iOS.
Go for it.
So I'm doing the weight and balance here, and I'd like to add a cargo section rather than having my storage kind of cargo classified as a passenger.
Mm-hmm.
How do I do that? Because when I print the load sheet, it comes up as a passenger.
Yeah, so if you go to planning, aircraft loading, weight and balance.
Yeah,
yep.
And the fuel planning kind of bit as well.
Sorry, and the
fuel planning part as well. So the aircraft loading, weight and balance, fuel planning.
Yeah, that one, yes, correct. If you tap on so you see your load stations. Mine I see at the moment is called front seats, rear seats, and baggage. So if you tap, say, on baggage, tap on the name, so not on the green box, but on the name, we'll scroll down a little bit, and you see a icon with two people.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you tap on that icon with the two silhouettes, it will change to a bag.
Oh, yeah.
And then it will come up as baggage.
Great, thank you.
Thanks, Edgar. I didn't know that was.
Sorry. I just have a question that's indirectly related to the flight tracking, the Oz runways and all the rest of it. Last night I was following on the Android phone a flight from Melbourne, a Qantas freight flight from Melbourne, and then it disappeared from the screen. I restarted the app in case that was the problem. It still wasn't there. I looked on the iOS version and it wasn't there, and then I went into Flight Radar 24 and it's still flying. Can you think of any reason why it might disappear from the traffic?
So the traffic we show you is a mix of AvPlan users and ADSB traffic, and we use a system of network ADSB receivers, ground-based ADSB receivers, which feed into our feed, which is very similar but separate from Flight Radar. So if our network doesn't have a receiver where that plane was, we won't see it, whereas Flight Radar 24 has probably a better and more dense network of ground receivers, so they still be able to see it, whereas we don't.
I see, thanks. So it wasn't anything wrong.
No, it's just we don't have coverage there in that particular area, so that's most likely explanation. And yeah, Flight Radar 24 is basically has coverage everywhere, but we don't use that because they want too much money.
Okay, does that mean too that when we're flying, we can only use the traffic on the map as a guide? obviously need to keep a look at.
Oh,
But yeah, but there could be quite a few aircraft in our area that are not showing up.
Correct. So if you're outside of the ADSB coverage, or you won't get any ADSB traffic, you only see AvPlan Live traffic, and also if people are not using any form of they don't have a transponder, they don't have AvPlan, or otherwise you won't see them anyway. So yeah, you always have to have a look at this as a tool to enhance your situational awareness, but it's definitely not 100% coverage, never. So I do know that Runways has ads with saying if you want to see all the traffic, because they have this ADSB receiver as well, a portable one, but I think it's misleading because you will never get 100%.
Right, and thanks. And related to that, is there a difference between the traffic that's visible on the map screen with the, if you go into settings, there's, let me see, what's it called? Under live tracking, I think somewhere, the live tracking website.
The live tracking website will only show AvPlan Live traffic, so not the ADSB traffic. So there's
right.
difference.
Okay,
so
thanks.
you will see more in the app than you will see on the website.
Great, thank you.
Excellent. So any further questions? Okay, well, you've been a marvelous group. If you do think of any questions after the webinar, you can contact us at the support desk. Edgar, have you got a direct link to support in settings?
I do, yeah. Also, if you go to settings, you can either chat with a report or can contact us. So contact us will create an email pre-filled with our email address. So you can then send it off, or if you chat to support, you will probably most likely talk to Krisha here. Here it is, he is. That's the easiest way to get in contact with us.
So if you think of anything after the webinar, please contact us, and we're happy to answer your questions. I get that chat to my mobile phone and my iPad, so if it's ever urgent, mark it urgent, and we'll make sure that we get back to you as soon as we can.
Just saw another question from Louise about the ADSB functionality, which is a great question. It is on the list. I can't give you a time frame at the moment. There's so many things I'm working on. I haven't started on the ADSB in, but it is important. So yeah, I can't give you a time frame, unfortunately, but it is definitely high on the list.
Thanks.
Excellent. Thanks, Edgar. Okay, well, yes, so if you're all free to leave, in fact, and if you need anything further, as I said, contact us via those buttons on the side, or go to avplan.com, avplanefb.com, and we've got an FAQ there, so if you ever need to drill down on some questions, check our FAQ. It's quite extensive, so it's always worth having a look at. And aside from that, I'd just like to say thank you so much all for your time. You are now free to leave.
Yep, thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you very much. It's been great. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.